Welcome to Hustle and Pro. This is episode 150. I'm your host, Kelly Walker, and today we have another host with us, but as a guest. You're a guest with me today, which is kind of different for you.
And 150, that's like a landmark episode.
Well, thanks.
I feel honored.
It's exciting to have you here. And I took a field trip from Frisco. We're in Dallas. We're down at Cumulus today. So I'm excited that you said yes. When I saw you at RoughRiders Media Day,
yes.
I said, hey, Sean. So hold on. Didn't get your name out the door.
Sorry.
Sean Bass. No, it's okay. I just want to make sure I clearly introduce you properly. So Sean Bass, you are the sports director at The Ticket, also an anchor, host, and Muser's Ticket guy.
Yeah,
yes?
yeah. I wear a lot of hats up here. In fact, I just had my 21st anniversary 3 days ago. So I've been with what used to be Susquehanna Pfaltzgraff is now Cumulus. So I've spent my 20s and now my 30s at this place. So welcome into the mothership.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And congrats on that many years. That's a lifetime.
Yeah, and radio, that's a good run. Like, people are like, man, that's impressive, which it is, because I have friends who have, are probably way more talented than I am, that have bounced around market to market, and you just don't have that kind of longevity. In a certain station. But it's the only job I've ever really known. Like, I got out of college and I was already working at the station for, I think, 4 or 5 years at that point. And then I became full-time in 06, 07, somewhere in there. And
so it is the only real job you've ever had.
I had a job recruiting doctors right out of college because I needed benefits and full-time pay. And that just sucked the life force right out of me. And, I was already here and I got the call, and that was a really easy decision to make. But, yeah, the broadcasting industry, and especially radio, terrestrial radio, has changed a lot. In my 2 decades, and it's maybe we'll get into that today. I don't know, but it's a different market than when I entered it.
Oh, sure.
When I was 19.
Sure. I mean, any media in general, just the way that people consume and the way that they listen to you guys and all the different ways people can listen has completely changed. Used to just be the dial. Now, it's a little fragmented.
Now we have podcasting. Now we have video stuff. Now we have people with smartphones, and we've had to adapt. And luckily, we have such a good listenership.
Sure.
We're a Dallas brand, and we were the first. We're the best, and we've won 4 Marconis. And the show I work on, the Musers, they won Major Market Personalities of the Year this past year, which was long overdue for the Musers.
The Musers is a great show. I'm a longtime P1. So I left Texas Tech and came here. It's about been the same amount of time you've worked here, honestly. Yeah, it's a little 20 years. Maybe 21. It might have been the same time. So it's kind of the sports talk I know and love. It's the only thing I listen to.
And it's so different. I mean, you go to other markets.
Oh, yeah.
It's taking calls. It's
different.
Generic national talking points, and it just feels like the same everywhere else. And I'm a little surprised. And, there's the bar stools out there, and a few stations have tried to do what we do, but because we've had basically the same crew the whole time, there's that familiarity there, and then, we just don't take ourselves all that seriously.
Right.
And
it sounds easy.
It's
I know
guy talk, and it's changed. I mean, we can't do some of the stuff we used to do because of the changing attitudes about certain societal topics, and we've had to just adjust. But at the end of the day, we're just a bunch of dorks having fun.
It sounds like it, and it is different. I used to do national ad sales, and so I would travel around the country and get in a rental car and find radio. And it was always really funny just to hear the personalities, which you guys, mock, but it's right on, and hear the Homer, just the conversations. And like you said, the call-ins, and just how that it's funny to compare how they're talking about their teams. And then, I mean, we all do it, but like, that's why we love and listen, but it is funny, and y'all do it different. There is a nuance that every ticket show has that is different. That's why we love it. I think that we have something in common. I read that your dad might have gotten you into loving sports, and at least that's why you wanted to come or listened here before you got here.
Yeah, my dad, and I listened when this thing went on the air back in 1994. I was in 7th grade, and I listened with my dad in the car on the way to school and on the way home. And also my buddies, my best friend Scott, who I've referenced on the air before, he started listening a lot. So that just became like what we would listen to on the weekend, or, when we're first driving a car, that was a big thing. So
when you get to choose your own.
Yeah, it's kind of been the soundtrack of my youth, and the fact I get to work here, sometimes it's kind of surreal.
Were you an athlete when you were little?
Yeah, played baseball, football, basketball, did all the sports, played baseball and football in high school. And, that's the thing, like, people that get into sports media. It's just a bunch of failed athletes or people that thought they were better than they actually were when they were kids. And that is one thing that people like always criticize. They're like, yeah, you never played. I'm like, well, I played in high school,
Sure,
but
enough to talk about it.
Most of our listeners only played in high school too.
Yes.
So I think there's a relatable factor there.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to know enough to be able to have opinion and talk about it.
Sure.
But you cover so much. So you host Diamond Talk.
Yes.
With Ty Walker.
I do.
And I'm guessing you were with Mike Reiner also on that
show.
No. Or did you?
What happened? Mike
overlap?
And Greg were the original hosts of Diamond Talk from like day one of the ticket. And they did that for the better part of a decade. And then they both got tired of having to get done with their show at 7 and go to the ballpark and do the whole bit. And I get that because, it's a lot. And the station had a great level of success, so they probably feel like they didn't have to do that any longer. So then it was just a hodgepodge of different people over the years, like Pete Stein, Kevin Scott, Mark Friedman, who was our old assistant program director. They all held things down. But that's like the one thing coming up at this station that I really wanted to do at some point because I was such a Ranger fan. I used to listen to Diamond Talk to Mike and Grego when I was a kid.
Sure.
So it's like that was like a big carrot for me in my younger days broadcasting here. And I got the job when things opened up, and I did the show the first year with Mike Bassick, former Major League pitcher who's now over at the Fan. He gave up the Barry Bonds historic home run, a local guy too. Great guy. We're still friends, but he lost his job here. And then that next year, it was David Newberry and myself, who's a former USC kicker who does some weekend stuff here and a lot of football stuff. But after a couple of years of him working a full-time job and then going out to the ballpark at night, that became a grind. So then my friend Ty Walker and I think this is our 11th or 12th year. I get a little fuzzy.
Wow.
I think this is my 14th year of doing the show.
Okay.
And I think this is year 11 with Ty. So we saw the halcyon days of the club because like I started in 2009, which is when they started to get good. Of course, then they go to a couple World Series.
I guess.
And now we're in kind of a downswing, but things are hopefully getting better in the next year or two. I don't really know.
I like the question as you state that. Like
it's hard to know.
Question.
I mean, everybody assumes that, and we're both out at Frisco Media Day, and you see those good young prospects, and it gets you excited. But a prospect is never a straight arrow. They kind of meander sometimes, and they have to go through their own maturation and master every level, and there's injuries, and you just never know.
Yep,
but at least the owner spent some money this past year to get people kind of on board,
on the right track, or trying
effort. As we record, I think a 3-9 start is sort of dampen everybody's spirits.
But and I do want to talk more about that, like especially when we were out there. I want to talk more about that farm system and everything with the Rangers. But when you talk about Diamond Talk in the late night, so you're the morning guy here, so you're not doing the leave at 7, go straight to the ballpark bit, but you're coming in early.
Yeah, it's a life adjustment because for years and years I was the midday anchor, so I worked 10 to 3. That was perfect. Like I could easily do a postgame show because I was not only doing the Rangers postgame, I was doing Mavs postgame for like 3 years. So I was kind of doing a postgame show year round, and it was just was great. That extra income and. It fit my lifestyle pretty well, but then I got moved to mornings after Rich Phillips left. I became assistant program director, and I didn't want to give up my postgame show because I love it. And so, luckily I have a wife who's has been an online educator for going on 9 years now.
Oh, wow.
So she works from home, so I can go home and nap during the day. Then I can wake up and pick up the kids from school and still be a dad. And then
that's great.
When it's a Rangers home game during the weeknight, I have to come back up here or wherever the show's going to be held and go do that. And it's a lot of times rolling in about 12:30 to 1:30 a.m. depending on how late the game goes. So that sort of sucks.
You never know with baseball.
But in getting up at 4 a.m. that's a tough turnaround. But like I said, I can sleep at home, and I do it because I like it. I mean, it's a nice financial boost too. Sure. But at the same time, I if there's one thing I'm going to give up last here at this station. It's the Rangers
Diamond
post
Talk.
game,
Okay, as if that wasn't enough, then you also have a podcast that you do too.
Yeah.
So Diamond Pod.
Yeah. It's just kind of like a cousin of Diamond Talk because as the club has been really bad over the past 5 years, and I'll be honest, like our hosts talk Cowboys, they talk Mavericks, they barely talk Stars.
Yeah.
And when the Rangers aren't good, they're sort of out of sight, out of mind too. So I thought, well, what's a way our station can still bring the listeners, some stuff that they're not getting on the air. I thought, well, Diamond Pod would be a perfect idea. My friend Michael Tepid, who blogs for LoneStarBall.com, We see him at Frisco all the time. He's a wealth of knowledge. And then Scott Lucas, who writes for the Newberg Report, who is more plugged into the prospect scene than anybody.
So plugged in.
And
get those daily emails.
And luckily, we've become friends over the years. We were podcasting at a different place over at Vocal, doing Rangers on Deck, I think. But then we decided to not work for Vocal anymore because some of their programming choices didn't sit well with us. And we decided, hey, I have this, loud microphone at this major station, and we now have a podcast feed, which we're trying to build up a little bit. So
I noticed it feeds into the Tickets podcast list.
Yeah, and that's the agreement. We run everything through the station. It's a way we can promote our product. It's a way we can promote Diamond Talk, and it's a built-in audience too.
Right.
So you don't have to like start from scratch and worry about getting like a couple hundred downloads. You can have thousands of downloads ready to go because we have such a big base of listeners here. I thought it was a no-brainer.
No, it is. It is a no-brainer. As people get into podcasting, that is the hardest thing. When you are not known, you don't have a built-in audience. It is like every one person.
And there's so many good
counts.
podcasts out there that die on the vine because after a while you look up and go, man, is this worth it?
Is anybody
no matter
out there?
what content we're saying, no matter how good or bad it is, if it's not finding an audience, that depresses you.
I
as
know.
a host.
Some of my best shows, I'm like, why aren't more people seeing this?
Right.
But then at the same time, because I'm local, I stick with Frisco mostly, the same time, it's really cool when somebody comes up to me and says, oh, hey, that episode you just did on so-and-so, that was great, or whatever. Like we tailgate for FC Dallas a lot, and I do a lot of soccer coverage. And so when, my tailgate guy buddies come up and want to talk about an episode, or if I had a player or coach on or something, it really does make me feel good that like there are people listening that I'm not related to.
And I like that more people are getting into soccer. And I know that, they've been in Frisco for a long time now.
Yes.
But, not many people really latched on to the Dallas Burn when they were at the Cotton Bowl.
Right.
The soccer fan has been paying attention to MLS and FC Dallas for a number of years, but I feel like now that there's a regular place to see them on TV, the ESPN Plus coverage definitely helps.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's become, and having all the talent there too, it's finally starting to penetrate the market some.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to spend any segments talking FC Dallas on our station, but we have our friends the Kick Around.
Well, yeah,
Peter and Andy, they do a fantastic job every Saturday for 2 hours, and they're sort of a one-stop shop.
When there's big stuff, like the Hardline will have Dan Hunt or Clark call in. I mean, every now and then there's a moment where there's soccer coverage, and my husband works from our upstairs other corner of the house, and he'll holler at me, Kelly, they're about to talk soccer. So make sure that I'm listening whenever you guys do.
We're coming up on a World Cup year too.
Yeah,
so there'll be a little bit more on the stage.
But the talent right now, it is at a high level, especially with all the call-ups for national team play. Even just this week at the younger level of national team, we've got a ton more call-ups. I mean, it's like it's really starting this farm system feel with the USL league. Yeah. So it's like one lower than our first team in Frisco. It's
Dallas
really
has
starting
produced
to
a ton
turn.
of young talent over the years. I mean, this is nothing new. But
but it's bigger. It's more right now. So there is like this vibe, and we're winning home games, which means now I've had season tickets in almost the same spot for 10 years, and there are new soccer fans now at every game sitting around us that like it's their first ever pro soccer game. So
and I know a lot of people are like, oh man, Austin's atmosphere is better. And I think it is. But the fact that that's happening down there, that might engage more people up here in North Texas to go, hey, we could have something like that too. Because for years it was just Dallas and Houston. And no offense to those teams, the atmospheres at those stadiums aren't what you get up in the Northwest.
Right.
Or at other spots in the MLS.
Right.
So.
But yes, the other Texas rival has helped. And I think it's made more people just competitive, more Texas teams to talk about and try to beat. So, and then I also wanted to talk about, speaking of like doing this podcast, when I was researching you, we have some mutual connections that have also been Hustle and Pro guests. So Greg Tepper.
Oh, Tep. Oh, he's the best.
Big personality.
Oh my God.
I remember talking about him. He told a really funny, like, Cliff Kingsbury football story because I went to college with Cliff. And so, so he's a big fun guy to talk to.
Yeah. And the fact that he's just created his own lane so well. I mean, Texas high school football is such a universal thing, but to make that his own and put his brand on the already, historic brand of Dave Campbell's is so great. And he's been a friend for 15 years now, and he's one of the just most genuine, sweet guys you'll ever run across.
And same with Chris Mikoski.
Oh,
So you
Chris is
probably
great.
know
Yeah,
that family. Like I love to
absolutely.
talk. I've had him on a few times because just learning about his like the family line of working with the Rangers
Right.
and like it's just it's
It runs
so
deep,
cool.
doesn't it?
It runs deep and
Yeah.
all the cool stuff he's gotten to do with baseball from growing up in baseball is really cool. And so I like seeing him. I mean, he's covering a lot of different things. I saw him at the ballpark at Frisco, the Frisco Classic. We
Hmm.
covered that together, and he was in the press box. I was just covering for press conferences and stuff. He was
A lot
on
of
there.
Southland stuff during
Yeah.
football season, and yeah, he's
Conference
all over the place.
USA.
Yeah.
He's all over the place. And then Gina Miller.
Oh,
What's your connection there? Did you guys ever work in the same
I've just known
space
Gina
at the same time?
through the media for
Yeah.
like, I don't know, the whole time I've been doing media
Sure.
stuff, and she's just a blast.
She is.
She is. And now she's,
Yeah.
of course, at FC Dallas.
Yes.
Because she went to LA for like a couple years after 11, I want to say.
Maybe
11
so.
and 21. Then she went to LA. Now she's back with FC Dallas. So
Yep.
it's good to have a friendly face back in the media scene.
Yeah,
for
she's
sure.
great. She's very gracious. When I started this show and was like, didn't know, I still don't think I know, but I know more. She was one of my first guests.
Yeah.
She's so nice. She's like, I'm sure she did not have time, but she's like, yeah, let's just go sit in my office and we'll record. And of course, she's amazing. She
Mhm.
could have just done the whole thing by herself
right.
and been great. And then we have a lot of RoughRiders staff overlap too. I've had
yeah.
Victor on, and then the previous Andy, the previous GM, and then even one of the Vicky, the lady who's at the front desk when you walk
Oh,
in,
of course,
the admin.
yes. Absolutely.
She came on because her and her husband have like a ballpark bucket list, visiting all the ballparks
Oh,
that they
wow.
So a lot of RoughRiders.
I'll have
talk over the
to
years.
bother her about that next time I go
Yeah,
out there,
ask
which
her
is
about
probably
it.
Saturday because we get another Jack Leiter start.
Yes,
So
yes, I will be
forward to
there
that.
tonight.
Okay.
Actually, I'm gonna miss the Jack Leiter start. So okay, I do want to talk about Jack Leiter. Before we go that route, though, I'm gonna stop for a quick break. We're gonna hear from one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back with more from Sean Bass, and we'll talk a little bit of Jack Leiter and maybe some Mavs talk also. We'll be right back. I want to tell you guys about Beyond Studios. I'm going there for Pilates right now, and I love it, and I want you guys to try it out. You can actually try your first class for free when you use my code HUSTLEandPRO. That's hustle ampersand pro, and you'll get your first class for free. So you can check it out at either their Beyond Studios location in West Frisco on 4th Army or the Beyond 500, which is at Lebanon and Legacy, and that's more of a cardio workout. So head to thebeyondstudios.com to find out more. Welcome back to Hustle and Pro. We are back with Sean Bass, and before the break, we were talking about Jack Leiter and the RoughRiders. So I do want to talk to you more about that. That's where I saw you last, was at Media Day, and we all got group interviews that day, but the ticket guys
Yeah.
get to pull him over to do the one-on-one, which is awesome.
I literally sent Zach Bigley an email, and he said yes. It's not like we did anything special. We didn't pay anybody.
Well, you are special though.
Yeah.
I'll get one-on-ones throughout the season, but for Media Day, yeah, you guys, the big dogs, get to talk to him the longest, which is fine. But I kind of just wanted your thoughts from that one-on-one and just everything. We've only seen him a little bit so far, but yeah, what did you take away?
My takeaway was this guy is just turned 22 like a couple days ago, and he acts like a big leaguer of like a decade.
He's real settled.
I mean, having a dad be Al Leiter, who's on MLB Network, and also Vanderbilt, which gets a lot more media attention than most college programs.
Yeah, big spotlight.
Obviously, he's going to be a little bit more polished, but it wasn't like a jerk type vibe, but you could tell that he's business. You can tell that he's an alpha male athlete. You can tell that he knows he's good,
Right.
but there's not like this air of like pretentiousness, or he's not
Right.
condescending.
It doesn't bother you.
He just has a vibe, kind of like Tom Brady in a way. Just has a vibe of, yes, I'm great. I'm still a nice guy. I'll answer your question, but you can tell that this is a business trip for him, and he doesn't plan on making roots in Frisco very long, because I'm guessing if he stays healthy, he's probably in Round Rock maybe by the end of this year.
Yeah. I wondered what you
Or
were gonna
Arlington,
say.
depending, but
Before.
I don't really want him to be in Arlington
That
this
fast.
year.
Yeah. I want him to develop and get this level a little bit longer.
I mean, Cole Winn is in AAA. I think he's a candidate to be before him.
Mhm.
Obviously, AJ Alexi's throwing the ball well for the Express. He's on the 40-man, so that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Granado just got called up. He's going to pitch tonight.
Yeah.
So there's dudes that have been in the system that are a little further along, I
Right.
guess.
Should be in line ahead of him.
Now, I don't know if they're talented as he is,
Right.
because there's nobody as talented in the system right now than young Jack Leiter.
But part of that will play itself out with the Rangers, how their season's going too. Not that, I mean, I hate talking about like records this early, and there's so much baseball to play, but part of that, the management team will have to weigh like, is our season, what kind of season are at some point?
I think if they were like messing around and trying to get a wild card spot, then maybe like, you know what, let's bring them up for a handful of starts.
Right.
But I don't think there's any illusions about what this thing is.
Yeah.
I think John Daniels, Chris Young, they've all been mostly transparent about the expectations this year. I mean, in an interview, they say, "Oh, we don't have expectations." That means you're not going to be very good. If you thought you were going to be good,
you
be
say,
like, "Hey,
we're going to
win." A playoff team."
Yeah,
it's not.
We need to pin in, or we need
the
something,
bullpen is trash, and I hate that because it's making games tough to watch.
Yeah,
I think the offense on given nights will be, like you saw last night in Seattle. They were able to erase a 5-0 deficit. They have dudes like Garver and Simeon and Seager and even a Brad Miller veteran type that makes it look more like a major league lineup than we've seen the past few years. So that makes it a more watchable product every night. That makes our post-game show a lot easier to do.
Yeah. There's stuff at the plate
last
to talk
year was
about.
just so bad because you knew if they get down by 2 or 3 runs, that was it.
Not coming back from that.
No, not at all.
But when the bullpen's not good, then it's rough because then all those runs are for nothing.
Right. And that's what it's been a lot so far this season. I mean, I think I predicted 76 wins in the morning news, and I felt like I was being like super homerific.
Really?
Picking that low of a number.
Yeah. Well. So maybe then Leiter will simmer in double or triple A all season or send him to next year, and then we'll see him when it's time. When the right time to really like slot him in there. And
he's throwing a fastball, as we know, slider and curve, and he could probably just throw those 3 pitches and be fine. But he talked to us during media day about how he doesn't feel completely at home with his changeup. Maybe that's something he can work on.
Yeah.
I know he wants to tighten up his slider a little bit, get more, horizontal movement on it. So there's going to be outings where he probably doesn't look as dominant as he could because people need to remember when they're watching a minor league start, sometimes the pitcher and catcher go, okay, this is what we're going to work on today.
Let's try something.
We're not worried about winning. We're just going to worry about this. Like Cole Winn the other night, he threw 13 right-on-right changeups, which is super rare for most pitchers, but he didn't throw his curveball hardly at all like he did the game prior because he was working on stuff.
Specifically
but
on
the fact that he's getting to that point where he doesn't need to go out and try to impress every game, that gives you a signal that maybe he's close to being ready.
Yeah.
So I can see Cole Winn being in the rotation in July, August.
This summer. Good. That's good. All right. With as much, I was going to ask, with all the time that you spend at Globe Life Field, I know you're not always out there.
No, I mean, a lot of nights we do the show in studio.
Yeah.
But I live in Mansfield.
Right.
And I'm like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I can go out and see. Like, I went to see Ohtani a few times this past week because
you
got to go see Ohtani, right?
So do you love the ballpark?
No.
Why not?
I love the old ballpark.
I love the old ballpark.
I think aesthetically the new one is very sterile. Mm-hmm. It has it's like you're walking into a giant Nebraska furniture mart. I mean, look, when it's 105 out, it's great. It's great.
Sure.
But I don't like the synthetic turf. It doesn't have a lot of character yet. I'm sure that'll develop over the years.
Over memories and
such. The hardest part is looking through the window and seeing your old girlfriend over there who you still absolutely love and still looks great.
And soccer's being played in there.
Yeah, and high school football and things like that. And rugby now I think is going on there.
Probably anything. I mean,
I saw an XFL game there, and to see like
use.
the left field wall be wiped out for stands, and there's no more dugouts. It makes you like get angry inside just to see your old beautiful place where so many memories were forged as a kid.
I know.
Now just it's ruined forever.
It is. It's weird, and it is sad. But so I wondered. I had never heard you talk about.
But air conditioning, fine.
Yes, that's good.
Start times, no rainouts, fine.
Yes, all that's great. But and that's good for the future and getting players who want to be here and all that. Yeah. I get all that. And
I think if you pay people, they'll come no matter.
Sure, but I'm one of those fans who I've watched baseball and been a player all my life, and like part of what I like about being at the ballpark is being out in the heat and sweating.
Being gross.
Yeah, like that's part of like summer baseball. It's all right with me. And then I'm used to it in the opposite in the winter with cold FC Dallas games. It's like layering up, bringing all your gloves and all your blankets and being uncomfortable and but
that's why the soccer scarf is a thing.
But if you're playing in the winter, you're probably in the playoffs and it's great. Like that's all kind of part of the fan experience for me. Like I don't need the air conditioning.
I know.
So
but they can put concerts in there. Mm-hmm. We have Lady Gaga coming in August, which my wife wants to go to.
Oh, I'm sure she'll be great.
And the owners. have capitalized with that property with hotels and Texas Live, and
Yeah, it's
the,
great.
the value of their franchise has gone up exponentially, and they rooked Arlington into paying half of it. So
That's the
I
business
guess way to go,
part.
Bob and Neil and,
Sure.
and Ray.
Yeah.
You did a good job there, I guess.
Yeah. And, I'm from,
Rich people stay rich.
and remember, I'm in Frisco, so I get that with being at, I can see the star from my house. So that's just how it goes sometimes. The business part takes over. Okay. I want to wrap up with talking Mavs.
Sure.
So as we record this, we just finished game 3 and it's been a big week, a big few nights.
Yeah. For those that can see it too, it's even better.
Don't even it's a big problem in my household.
What do you?
We don't have.
We have YouTube TV. What do you guys have?
We have AT&T, which is DirecTV, which it's a whole. I could tell this whole story. It'd take up 2 of my episodes. But we tried to upgrade to get the right channel to get Bally, and my husband was on the phone for like an hour and a half on Monday so we could watch Monday's game. And it ended up, we did not get to see it. We had to listen to it. So now we're listening to it or finding friends and all this. It's just been a nightmare.
I've got a way. I've got a way for you to watch it.
Okay.
I'll tell you off.
Okay.
There.
Yes.
Might
awesome.
not be totally legal, but
well, I already have
it
plans
works.
for tomorrow because we have FC Dallas at 2, and then as soon as that's done, they'll be tipping off, and we're already like, okay, we have to lock in our plan now.
Well, tomorrow's TNT.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so you're good tomorrow.
Super.
I know it's just maddening.
See, I hadn't
it's
even looked
2022,
yet.
and we're
I
dealing
can't.
with this.
I know I can't. The whole thing. Anyways, for those who did get to see it, yes, I watched, like, while we're listening to it, I'm also watching Twitter just to sort of see, like, feeling like I'm a little bit more involved.
It's like the sports bar.
Yeah,
Twitter.
it is. It kind of helps me get through the game. But it's been really exciting lately. And then the whole, like, Luka angle with, is he going to play? Isn't he now? It's been really entertaining listening to the shift in conversation every morning with you guys, or throughout the whole day with the ticket.
Right.
But the whole, man, we hope he's healthy enough to play. And then now it's, do we really need him to play?
Feels like found money. It's like, well, heck.
Do we need to push it? Yeah.
Yeah, like, keep him healthy. No, he's going to have to get back at some point.
Well, sure.
And if he's healthy enough to play Saturday, great. I mean, maybe not playing 45 minutes, but I'm sure, look, he's a competitor. They've probably had to hold him back from doing a lot of, like, workout stuff and practice things. And
sure,
when he's ready, he is a top 10, 5 player in the league.
Right.
So that's going to make a difference. And you've already won 2 games without him, which is nuts.
Which is so great, though. But, like, do you feel like having him sidelined is exactly what, like, the rest of these guys need, like, to be able to step up? Like, they
played so many games without him in the regular season. I think they knew they could, but they didn't do it in playoff atmospheres. And to win on the road in Salt Lake City, where they had lost 11 straight, is a confidence boost. And to know that Jalen Brunson has that in him, and he can, like, dip into that, as he went to the locker room last night by getting a cheap shot in his back by Royce O'Neal, and to come back and, like, still be the guy. It makes you feel like, wow, okay, maybe Dallas has another star that they can lean on when, your alpha's not, either completely healthy or playing his best brand of basketball.
But I love it. I think it's tempered everybody's fear of, oh my gosh, if Luka can't play. Like, at least now we've seen recently, on this momentum swing, we've seen the other guys be able to step up and know that it's okay.
Well, when you make 43 pointers in 2 games,
right.
Honestly, that's what it is.
Sure.
They're making their open shots, and they didn't make them in game 1.
Yep.
It's not like Utah's good defensively. I mean, they have Gobert, but perimeter-wise, they can be torched, and we've seen that for 2 games now, and it makes you feel like, okay, like, a decade or 11 years since they've been out of round 1. Like, their last series win was the NBA Finals in 2011. So it's been a long time coming.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I had a baby in a onesie on the ground watching it, and he's 11 and a half.
Oh my gosh.
Now, so and he's still watching them.
He's never known the Mavericks to be, like, great,
No, he's never known really any. I mean, he's never seen. Right after he was born was when we went to the Rangers. What was it, ALCS game or whatever? I don't remember now.
Against Detroit?
No, it must have been a different game because it was the A-Rod strikeout.
Oh, that was Game 6 of 2010.
Okay, 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was born 2010 fall. So, but anyways, he's never lived through it to remember yet.
My kids are the same. 11 and 7.
Winning.
Like,
yeah.
Zoe was a baby when they were
Mm-hmm.
going to the World Series and
Right.
when the Mavs were, winning a title. Right. But really, I mean, I've tried to take them to go see Dirk when he was playing, and I've taken them to Ranger games and stuff. And
oh yeah, just
they
to get a
dig
taste.
it, but they've always thought, well, Dad's always kind of in a bad mood because they're not very good.
And I'm amazed that Jack is still into the Cowboys as much as he is. We are.
It means the propaganda machine is working.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
that's
but
all
he's
that
in
means.
Cowboyville, we're at the Star all the time, and our kids go to Frisco schools and they play there, and we see Zeke sitting at the stoplight next to us. He's in it, so we kind of he's totally into it.
And branding works.
And branding works, and he loves.
They're the best at it.
Eats it all up, even though he's never seen him do a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. That's what sports is. That's what kids loving sports is
3
all
decades
about.
here. Like it's nothing new around here.
Yeah.
There's just another generation coming up being wholly disappointed by Dallas Cowboys football.
Yeah, and then he'll go through all the things that I remember, all those times when you waited. Like my childhood was my dad, watching and teaching me Rangers games and taking us to Rangers games. I'm from Waco. So we would drive up, and that was like our report card celebration, big stuff.
Yeah,
and so waiting for the big moments. And so I remember the big moments because it took so long to get there.
Right.
And then I remember where I was when the Stars won. I was in college. I remember the bar I was at. Our kids will all get those moments one day.
One day.
It always comes back around.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, but hopefully they're engaged.
Yeah.
And care like maybe we did, because that's the thing with baseball too. And I'm not baseball is dying guy. I think baseball is actually very profitable and doing fine,
okay.
But you do worry that maybe the younger generation doesn't quite latch onto it like we did. And that's something I'm trying to figure out with my daughters. Not that I'm trying to make them baseball fans, but they're around it so much. Mm-hmm. I think they're naturally going to
interested
at a certain age really start to click with it. My 11-year-old's not quite there. My 7-year-old she's mad there's no more play area like they had at the old ballpark.
Yeah, the playgrounds.
That's like a big deal.
7
for her.
Is when I really got into softball.
Yeah.
And so I really started to understand
Little League
the
is
game.
what got me attached. Our kids don't play Little League. They play soccer. They're into music and performance. And
but they can start. It's not too late.
Yeah, no,
there's plenty of time. But I agree that it's not gone or dying, because I've been in the AA baseball and world and have a lot of friends that play AAA and majors, and there is a group of boys out there that's really into baseball, and their parents are really into it. There's
always
so
going to be that
baseball.
sector of society, and I think that people that ignore that fact they're not seeing the whole picture.
Right. It's not dead at the younger age, which is, there's players coming up.
Yeah, there's a Little League complex near our house on Saturday mornings. I'm pretty sure baseball's still very alive and well with all those families.
Oh yeah. For sure. And as much travel baseball as my friends do, they're gone at a baseball tournament every weekend.
That was my youth.
And it's good, and these kids are really good.
I know.
Yeah, and so that's how it all evolves, and they'll all be moving up and farm system, and they'll be out there. So yeah, it's not dwindling anytime soon, I don't think. Yeah. It's changing maybe, and I don't know if some of the rule changes are good or bad for it. I have opinions on that.
I think they should try. I mean, don't just say, people will come around. You need to do things to make it better. Mm-hmm. And that's every North American sport has done that. Baseball's always slow. And I have some reservations about some of the things that are being proposed too, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and then you get used to it, and then you forget the old ways sometimes.
I don't like the zombie runner in extra innings. I can't get past that.
Yeah,
that's
a
bridge
weird.
too far.
That might not stick. I mean, that
it's supposed to go away next year. It was supposed to go away this year. And 2 days before the season, they're like,
we're
zombie runner's back.
Yeah.
Okay.
One day that won't be a thing, I bet. But yes. Okay. Well. Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel
like I didn't really
I know. I'm sorry. I
get
talked
into
too much
with you. No. I just feel like I've rambled.
My episodes are short, but how long do you talk on Diamond Pod?
We usually do an hour.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've always had him short.
And I work with Michael Tepid, and he you can ask him one thing, and he'll go for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. I had an hour episode recently. It was Del Harris, because he just likes to keep going.
Hall of Famer Del Harris.
Yeah, and I could have sat there. I mean, he just wants to tell stories from 40 years ago and they're great. So
Right.
how can you not? But most of mine are pretty short. The publisher that I was with when I originally started this, they wanted like short episodes and
Sure.
just more digestible. And I just sort of always kept that going. Even
No, I
when
know.
I've been on
Like
my
we try
own,
to keep
so.
our podcasts under an hour because when
Mhm.
you look on your phone,
Yeah.
when it downloads, you're thinking, oh, this is not in triple digits, so
Right.
I can easily consume this.
Yeah, when they're longer than 30, then I know I can't get through it in like one workout or one drive session or
Right,
whatever.
right.
So it breaks it up,
A
which is
commute.
fine. I
Yeah.
don't mind. Sometimes it takes me several days to get through longer ones, but that means they're good if I'm still, coming back to them for
Sure.
try number 3 to get through it. Like that's fine. But yeah, mine are short. So I know. There's plenty more we could have gotten into, but I appreciate that you, first of all, let me in,
Yeah.
and said yes. And you're done with your shift, so you're probably ready to start your weekend and get out of here. So
Kind of.
thanks.
But I mean, I'm happy to do this. I mean, this is really cool.
Well, it's very kind
Like
of
what
you.
you're doing is giving a platform to a lot of people that are known, like Mark Followells of the world, Dale Harris, but also, student athletes and
Yeah.
just people around the community, which a lot of times we don't shine enough light on those people.
The
those
student
people either.
athletes are some of my favorites because I obviously don't know the kids going into it, and they're so impressive. Many of them are so impressive. They know.
I think people
they
write
just-
off kids too quickly.
Oh,
They
yeah.
think, oh, these young idiots, they don't know what they're doing. But then you actually talk to them, it's like, wow, the future might be in a decent place
Right.
if we just trust the fact that these kids have brains
Oh,
and
yeah.
we'll use them properly.
Well, and I don't know if I told you this in Frisco, but I work with high school athletes. I have a part-time job that's with them. We have 70 coaches. They're all high school athletes, and they train little kids, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
The parents will text me immediately after a private lesson, and they're like, oh, so-and-so is so great. I can't believe the skill level that they got us to, and they're so prepared, and they're so nice. And I mean, we train them to look the parent in the eye, look the kid in the eye, talk and how to wrap up and do it. But we just don't give them enough teenagers. We don't give them
I
enough
know.
credit for what they can
I
actually
agree.
do.
And now that I'm in my 40s, with girls that will be teenagers
Yeah.
before I want,
Sure.
you start to realize, wow, maybe some of these kids are onto something. Maybe they actually know what they're doing.
They do.
We shouldn't just immediately think, oh, the younger generation, humbug,
No, right. I agree.
We should not do that.
And they're going to be the ones taking care of us. But
Yes.
yeah. And the busy
And hopefully they'll
student
take care of
athletes.
society too,
Right.
which is a big, there's a lot of warning signs and red flags out there on a number of topics.
Well,
And
but-
it just feels like that if we actually listen to them and
Yeah.
have them lead policy, social issues,
That's the thing.
their communities, we're probably going to be in a better place.
They're paying attention.
Right.
I've had kids that they're the president of the economic club or the environmental club, or one of my girls was a college softball player, and her study was faith and social justice and the combination of the two. And it's
Wow.
like, that's amazing that. And
Yeah.
then she went on to get her she's now getting her master's. But it's like,
And our generation was watching Beavis and Butthead
Yes.
in the 90s,
but
which
this is what they're wanting to fix and
Right.
think about and solve. And
because it's
like,
up in their face, because
Yeah.
we have so many outlets to see the news and consume media that they don't always like what they see, and they're actually doing something about
Right.
it, which is
refreshing.
it's heartening.
Yes, it
For
is
sure.
heartening. It is heartening. Well,
So you're
thank
doing
you.
great work with what you're doing by putting a
Thanks.
spotlight on those young people. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for that.
Thank you. That's nice of you to say. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
And thank you guys for watching or listening to this episode of Hustle and Pro. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and follow us on Instagram at hustle_and_pro. I'll put it on the screen. And we will see you next episode.